Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff I'll Never Told You, a production of iHeartRadio.
And we're back with our happy hour edition of Sex and the City viewing times, party times. I keep messing these intros up, but I'm going to go with it because I feel like that's the spontaneity of it all. And today we're so excited because we're going to have collaborator, friend, all the things of the show, Joey. Yay!
Hello. Yay.
All right, now I need to ask, although I know the answer, but you need to tell our listeners, how familiar are you with Sex and the City?
So I'm not super familiar. It was a little before my time. So I just a little. But I know my mom watched it. I think my little sister's into it too. And I'm sorry.
Keep going. It's fine. I acknowledge it. Keep going.
But I also do. I live in New York, and I went to college in New York, and like all of my mom's friends when I was moving out to New York were like, "You need to watch this," and I was like, "Yeah," and then I did it.
Yeah, no.
I will say I have had one-sided beef with Sarah Jessica Parker since I was a kid because my initials are also SJP.
Oh, that's right.
Joey's for my middle name.
That's right.
And and all of the SJP social media handles were taken by Sarah Jessica Parker, and I was really mad about that when I was like first getting on Twitter.
That's fair.
But yeah, I'm excited to watch. I've seen like clips here and there, you know. I feel like it's hard to like avoid it.
It's
but
true.
I'm excited to watch my first full episode of Sex and the City.
Okay, and you're in for a treat. This one is interesting. So go ahead and put a little warning at the beginning. As per usual with all of these episodes, and as you heard from Joey, yes, their mom watched it. So it is outdated. Let's just go ahead and say that. And with that, some of the content and topics, of course, is outdated. And so we're going to come back and talk about it because, you know, we never skirt away from the issues with this show because we like to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the wonderful. So we will definitely address any of those things beforehand. And as per usual, we have to have a review from the wonderful Anney. Reese, please give us a quick review of what has been happening in the world of Sex and the City.
Well, this is so fun because I, too, have never seen Sex and the City. But obviously, I've been here for all the episodes prior to this, which there are 94 episodes, Joey, just so you know, and 3 movies and then another mini/not mini-series anymore.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of content.
A lot.
So I've been thinking about this. I feel like normally I just give a very haphazard review of the last episode. Mm-hmm. But I will tell you, it's 4 friends and they're having hijinks in the relationship world in New York. There is usually a club scene or a restaurant scene or both. But you've got Charlotte, who's trying to find the one and just never does and works in the art world. Sort of you're like more conservative. I wouldn't say she's like conservative, but like of them, she wants to get married. She has dated some interesting characters, though, like an actor who really had no brains recently. And then you've got Samantha, who is the one that's like, I just want to have sex. I feel comfortable in my body, like all that stuff. And then you've got Miranda, who's sort of your like single woman in an apartment, has a good job as a lawyer, but she has met her dude that people who have seen the show know about, Steve. And they're trying to negotiate, like, 'cause she makes more money than him, and that was a whole thing. And they have different schedules because he's a bartender, so that was a whole thing. And then you've got Carrie, who is your main character, who has met Big, who is her on and again, off again dude. And they've had a lot of conversations around like religion and marriage and what they want. And is he actually a douchebag? All those kinds of things. But at the heart of it is their friendship, the friendship of these 4 characters. And that's about where we are. Is we got Miranda with Steve, trying to figure out money things.
They just broke up.
Oh, yeah, they just broke up, but over kind of money-ish things.
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
Charlotte not finding the one Samantha doing her thing, and then Carrie with Big, and they continue to have these big relationship conversations.
Very nice. What a good, succinct summary. So now you know, Joey, where we're at a little bit. And because this is a happy hour, we may or may not be drinking on some cocktails. Anybody drinking anything special? What you got, Annie?
Red wine out of a box.
Red.
As per usual.
Every time. I am keeping it low-key with my bubbly water. Very bubbled. It may be the hint water that we recently were given. Don't know. What about you, Joey?
There's a hint.
I was originally planning on having red wine, but I'm still on my coffee from this morning, so I'm going to stick to finishing my coffee first.
Right.
So yeah, I'm drinking coffee.
Little peek behind the curtains. It's not exactly happy hour time for us, but we're pretending, right?
Yeah.
Anytime is happy hour if you want it to be. And just as a reminder, if you are drinking as you're listening to this episode or whatever you're doing, be responsible. Technically, those drinks that we've talked about are not a current sponsor for this episode, though they may be sponsors throughout. Who knows? Hey. So the title of this episode, and this is my favorite part, we're going to give it to, I'll tell you the episode, and then Joey, you can either take it or give it to Anney first for the prediction. I'll let you decide. But the title of this episode of season 2, episode 11 is Evolution.
Ooh.
So anybody want to take a guess?
Okay. I might have it just given our conversation earlier, because I know there is a thing about one of them, like, quote, becoming a lesbian at one point or something. And I don't know if this is it, but I'm again using that in quotation marks because it was, I don't know if that terminology, but maybe it's that episode. I'm not totally sure. I feel like there's going to be some like queerness though.
Okay.
Is my guess.
All right. I like it. Anney?
Always add in, they go to a club.
Go to the club. They go to a club.
They go to a club.
Oh, they get brunch too, right?
Yeah, brunch. Probably
Yeah.
After the club, post club. Okay, I feel like I think that there's got to be something about sort of, oh no. This is what happens to me, Joey. I always get my head about it. Okay, I think it's got to be, evolving outside of relationships to the next relationship, and or discussion about how we have evolved in the terms of relationships and what we think is a good relationship, bad relationship, or something else. I bet there'll be something with Miranda and Steve, and just to talk about, like, what do we even want? What do we even want in this world?
I like the desperation towards the end in your prediction here, Anney. Like, what do we want? What do we want? And that's a great question. What do we want?
What do we want? I don't know.
Wow, y'all. Yeah, you guys hit it all over the place. I will say there are definitely elements to what you're saying, Joey. Anney, yeah, you're passing, I think. Okay, we'll get into that at the end. But yeah, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and start this episode.
Actually, I'm going off it.
Are you trying to have a baby?
No, I guess I sort of jumped the gun going on it in the first place because Steve, the guy that I went on it for, the first real relationship I've had in years, is over, and I don't need a daily reminder that I'm not having sex. So that's the story with the pill. And
I know the concept of the pill is a little different. Like, I got on it to regulate my system, essentially.
Yeah, same. It's like,
this is not the
It
right
was never like,
yeah.
oh God, I'm not having sex
No
anymore.
babies.
I'll get off it. That doesn't make sense.
Right.
They're like, do you just want it? Yes or no? That's it. I don't need to know why.
big, I think it's best to walk softly and carry a big purse.
Yes, she shouldn't leave anything there. It's important to remain a creature of mystery.
So talking about leaving things behind at your partner's house to stake territory, which, by the way, is a new TikTok trend, maybe not new, a TikTok trend in which women who have stayed and maybe even in an one-night stand will leave things just in case they are having a relationship and lied about it, and the other person can find it to know that they were there. It's a way of telling on them.
Interesting.
But this is different, obviously.
Smart move.
I've heard about it more in terms of that's how you get the invite back. It's like you leave a thing and then they have to meet you again.
So many different things.
Yeah.
This route has evolved in itself, it sounds like. She's doing it to stake territory. Then it's become something else altogether.
Then I want a t-shirt that says, I dated a bartender and all I got was this lousy ovary.
It is funny hearing them talk about it. Where she's like, the sperm have to jump over it. This sounds like me as a kid trying to explain things.
I mean, not all.
I don't know, maybe it's personal stuff, but I would be like, great, like less of a chance I can get pregnant. Like that's that sounds amazing. Like,
And we're in a whole different generation in which you're like, yeah, shut that down immediately. Shut it down.
yeah.
Shut it down.
He must be a gay straight man because he asked Charlotte out for a second date.
Unless he's a straight gay man in denial.
But
So Charlotte is now seeing a gay straight man who has great taste in fashion and also will quote unquote her or kiss her. Nicer version.
Well, wait, so is the implication though that he's closeted and he's trying to be straight?
Or maybe it's the opposite in which he just feels more able to be effeminate but is straight. That's the question.
Okay.
Imagining Samantha with a broken heart was almost more confusing to Charlotte than a French kiss from a gay man.
Ancient history. I'm the one with the
They really hone in on this. And also with us, as a reminder, Sex and the City really did not have spectrums. They were hardline, you're gay or straight. And there was not even like bisexuality. They didn't, literally there's a line later in the episode saying that she didn't believe in that. So it's kind of this whole conversation of like,
Yeah. I think I've definitely seen that clip where they say that about, I don't know, it's just it's so funny. Like the conversation on that has changed so much because I'm bisexual and I'm like most, I don't know, I feel like most of my friends are somewhere on the spectrum.
right.
So, I don't know, maybe it's just the people I am around, but yeah.
And it makes sense. Of course, like I as the older, I would definitely have grown with that. Because to me, I didn't know it was anything but the binary. But then you're like, oh, yeah, that doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense in the end.
Yeah. I will say, I think, because I remember being in like high school and it was still like, I don't know, like I feel like bisexuality wasn't like a thing people talked about until like I was in my late teens, which is still, pretty young. But yeah.
I love that. But still, yeah, it's definitely a growth.
You want me to leave socks here?
Well, never mind what I want. What do you want?
I don't know. Let's save an hour. Why don't you just tell me what I want?
No, really. In your mind,
very sexist.
what is the ideal living situation for two people
Terrible.
in a relationship?
It is funny how much of this is about how we don't really communicate well in relationships, though. And there's all these like games we play, like power games.
And what is that?
I have my place. You have yours. We're together when we want to be, and we're apart when we want to be.
Like Woody and Mia.
Before Sun-Yi.
Ugh. Really bad take. Really bad take.
That was like a gut punch.
Right?
Wait, what did he say?
She said like Woody and Mia before Sun-Yi, which is the adopted. Do you know the story of Woody?
No, I don't think so.
Woody Allen.
Woody Allen's with the Harrelson.
Oh,
that's
Woody
not right.
Allen.
Yeah, that's the
I was thinking
reference.
Woody Harrelson too.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Woody and Mia. Yeah, before the adopted daughter.
Yes.
Yeah. So I will say I also would have subscribed to the whole separate but together conversation. I loved that aspect in my relationship previously. Don't get me wrong. I love living with them now. But like there was the safety in knowing I had my own space that I had to take care of, and they had their own space that they had to take care of. But because we were neighbors, like I lived upstairs, he lived downstairs, it was a beautiful setup. So I loved that. There's something to that.
Totally support that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's...
I mean, if I left a hairdryer at somebody's place, I'd have to get another hairdryer. I'm not going to their apartment every time to use the hairdryer.
Well, I think that's you as a minimalist for certain things.
Yeah.
I also, I was like, I don't know. I short hair. I don't have as much makeup or all that. I think is Carrie does, but
right.
Reese just being like, I have my.
Oh yeah, Carrie has all the things, obviously, and she can afford it for some reason.
Yeah, that's true.
All of a sudden it hit me that if the other ovary shuts down, I'm out of business. So I've started taking hormones, and now I'm actually considering freezing my eggs.
Freezing your eggs?
Yeah, you know, like a fertility savings account. I think it would take the pressure off. It removes.
I will say, as getting older, and I'm like, I still don't know. Maybe I had thought about, should I freeze eggs? But then I'm like, I don't think so. That's a good idea.
What is all this reproductive technology doing for us? I mean, do we want desperate women having babies at 50? Maybe some people aren't supposed to procreate. Maybe this is the world's way of weeding out the weak. You see?
Weeding out
if you
This is a good way of weeding out the guy you don't want to date.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Designer sperm and these simulated wombs. Here's a good idea. Why don't we just eliminate men altogether?
Yeah.
I don't need to be lectured about science by a man who's doing crop rotation on his forehead.
A crop rotation on his forehead.
I love how quickly I've been in this fight with a dude before too, and how quickly it turns to, why don't we just get rid of men?
Yes. And then
That's really
yes.
the go-to. I'm like, sure. You said it, not me.
Yes.
I didn't bring it up, you did.
You get it. Crop rotation is talking about natural selection, and you're like, wait, what? Just be bald.
Yeah. Also, it should be totally cool to just have a conversation about your hormones.
Right.
And not have someone freak out.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sleepy.
Something smells amazing.
I really need to know if women who've had like one night stands or sleep with men actually end up wearing the dude's shirt the next day. Because I was like, when do you do that? At what point? Yeah. At what point? Who has done this? Unless it's on purpose. Because you like split a pajama set.
Later. So is the button up too?
Right. Like when you start stealing your partner's stuff.
Yeah. Or are you borrowing it?
Yeah, sure. Or borrow it. That's the term. Tell my partner that.
I don't like that his name is Big. That bothers me so much.
So the origination of that is that in the first episode of the show, Sam knew him as the next big real estate person and like the next big rich dude. So they talk most of the times in references to like nicknames. So that stuck for him, unfortunately, because it's not great.
Yeah.
But he may be the only dude that has a nickname. Because that's how, when I was dating, I would never give him a name. They would have some type of nickname until like we were more official.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. So like it could be.
I feel like just because so much of dating now is like online dating, it's always just like, oh yeah, the Hinge person.
Yeah.
Or like the Tinder person.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'll talk to my friends about.
Exactly. I think the Tinder person was one. I think I called one the musician. I called one like so many different. What was he? I still don't know if he was telling me the truth because he told me he was a capital investment dude. And I was like, what does that mean? I still think he might have been lying, to be fair. Because he was like, I have a BMW, but it's in the shop. And I was like, Yeah, there's so many things that I'm thinking back on it. Yeah. I'm like, this doesn't add up. But yeah, there you go. So Anney, you did talk about evolving in their life. So I'll give you a thing. They do mention Steve kind of, but not a lot. They didn't go to a club. I'm sorry. They did not go to a club. Oh, yeah, actually they did. They did go to a club. That's a lie. Right? Yeah, you're right.
Now you're gaslighting me.
That's true. I forgot that's where Dominic is in that club. You're right. So there is a club scene. So I'll give you that. There's definitely queer reference and like not being very evolved in it, I guess, at this point. Yeah. So there you go. I will give both of y'all points. I'll give you a tie. Y'all did good. Y'all did good.
Oh.
Yeah, you did.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think the mystery was the whole, like, the metrosexual dude coming into play, which is hilarious because that's so gone. That term is gone now, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's dismissed.
I have one very good friend who is a straight man who regularly refers to himself as metrosexual, and I make fun of him about it all the time. And he's the only person I know that uses that like I've heard in the past like 10 years say the word metrosexual.
Yeah. That's funny.
It's not.
Like, do they do it seriously or jokingly?
He says it seriously. And every time I'm like, stop.
Wow.
But yeah, he's also very, very straight.
That's funny.
I feel like, yeah. But I do think like effeminate, quote unquote, like straight men is becoming more like normalized.
Right.
You know?
I hope
and like
so.
definitely through the like, I don't know, like the whole TikTok like thing and all of that. Yeah, again, I'm also like, I'm a queer person who is mostly friends with queer people, and I feel like it's a different conversation.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I definitely like I can't imagine any of my like straight girlfriends being like, yeah, I'm not gonna date this guy because he like acted too effeminate or too. I feel like that's like a plus. Like that's
Right.
like, oh, he's like more in touch with his emotions,
Right.
or like he gets like more, you know, traditionally feminine things like fashion or all of that. Like I feel like that's a plus.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I love a man who cooks. I love a man who can have a conversation about feminism. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Legitimately and understanding it. That's why I think K-dramas are a big hit right now, because they are all about the sensitive man / some other things. But they do definitely are like one of the lines, and some of them is like, it's okay to cry. They keep saying that to each other. I think it's interesting. But there you go. How do you feel about your first experience in watching a full episode of Sex and the City, Joey?
That was fun. I definitely was not. I feel like I'm so used to like the really long, drawn out TV shows now. It was like, this is fun, just kind of quick. But yeah, I definitely was an interesting experience. Was expecting a lot of that like 90s, like 40% of the way there with the sexual liberation sort of stuff. But yeah, it was good.
It's fun.
I know there's I should have asked my little sister likes the show too, and I know there's like one, because everybody's always like, I'm a, like Miranda or Samantha. There's one that she says reminds her of me. I cannot remember what it is though. I definitely want to know now. Though now that I'm like, I feel like I have a.
Is it Miranda?
Maybe Miranda. Is Miranda the lawyer?
Yes. So she's a very straightforward, like no holds barred type of person who will let you know, but very, very there for her friends and very loyal.
For sure.
So
that sounds like very blunt. Yeah, but I'm definitely gonna ask her after this.
Yeah.
You should report back.
Yeah, you can let us know.
I'm definitely. Oh yeah, I'll let you guys know.
We've had to do quizzes. We should have made you do a quiz. We've done that before. We should have made you do a quiz beforehand. We'll send you one after the fact. We'll do a report back. It's not like you're not going to be ever on. And yeah, in my realization, this episode was released before you were born. So
when was it?
1999.
Okay, I was born in 99.
Okay. On the year you were born.
Yeah. I think I was born.
Wait, when is your birthday? We don't know your birthday. You don't have to announce it over the episode if you want to.
Well, I'm a Cancer. It's in July.
Okay. So you were born right before the release of this episode. It sounds like, because this was done in August of 1999.
Okay.
So the year you were born.
Good to know. Yeah.
Meant to be.
It's fine. I was going to college. It's okay.
Oh my gosh. I definitely. It is funny to watch stuff that's set in New York during this era, and it was like right before everything got super gentrified. I was like, oh my god, I can't imagine like being like. I don't think I know anybody who lives in Chelsea.
Yeah,
that's very expensive now.
Well, what's so funny is like I think people want you to watch it to see as if like it's going to be a setup for your life. You're like, there's no way in hell anyone lives this life unless you are already rich. Like you are born rich and probably a part of a family that has lived and has owned property in New York for the past 100 years. You're not going to have that life.
I was like, they have all their apartments. They have like an actual like I'm in my bedroom right now, and everything is very like you can see my bed and frame right now because it's very compact.
Right. I mean, to be fair, I guess Carrie's apartment is probably the most because you see the bedroom and the living room is connected. It's not separate, and then they have a bathroom and a kitchen. But still, it's like. It's still, that's expensive because I think she lives in a brownstone or something. You're like, nah, that's not a thing for people who are just starting out. But yes, there was so much in this episode about evolution and growing, which is quite funny because as we look back on it, it is very outdated in what they think is being evolved between the trope. Like let's name all the tropes that was in there. Obviously, the effeminate man being gay versus also the women having to hurry up and save their eggs, or they're going to be useless. What else? What are the other tropes we saw in this? There's so many good ones.
The leaving things at the apartment.
The shirt.
Yeah, the shirt.
The leaving
Wearing
behind. Yeah, the territorial marking.
That's still a thing, though. I feel like that's always in...
Yeah.
But also the inability to communicate. So therefore, you do things passive-aggressively.
Yeah. I feel like there was kind of a vibe with Miranda, because she's the like business oriented one. She's having this trouble with the lazy ovary, where she's being punished for like putting her job first, or kind of punished, but like the conversation being, "Oh, you put your job first. Here's the cost," which you know there's a legitimate conversation you can have about that, but it felt much more like, I guess I'll date this. It implied douchebag that's been harassing her forever. Like,
it really was.
To have a baby.
To possibly have a baby. Which
to possibly have a baby.
Is a whole theme throughout, I will say eventually.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
Fun.
That made me think of, I don't know if you guys watched like New Girl at all, but they had like a similar arc in that with one of the characters.
They did. It was very odd. And then she turned out to be able to have tons of babies.
Yeah. Definitely not at that point in my life yet, but it's also like, I'm just it's interesting. His reaction though is definitely like, I feel like I also maybe this is me being naive and not interacting with straight men as much, but like, I feel like that's not as shocking anymore to be like, oh, like some people freeze their eggs, or like some people, you know, there's a lot of modern medicine is great.
Right.
There's lots of alternatives you can do. Because I get the whole like wanting to be in a relationship to have a kid, but at the same time, I'm like, whenever this sort of trope comes up, it was like the same with New Girl. I was like, why don't you look into like just getting a sperm donor? Or like what? Like that's never part of the conversation.
Right.
It's like if you want kids, it's always coming. It has to come with the man attached to it. Like I don't know.
Yeah. You're right.
That was interesting.
It was definitely interesting. And at least a couple of them, because the conversation starts out with a lesbian couple going through treatment because they want a baby and then all that stuff. And then like you only have a certain amount of time. Let me tell you this. But then like it had to be a committed couple before they even had that conversation. And then, Cece, who is the character, goes into like a dating spree, matchup spree to find her perfect mate. But I think it's interesting. But I know we haven't talked much about this, and this didn't really get brought up here. But the fact that with this anti-reproductive health care movement, it does pushback on surrogacy as well as IVF treatments and such as that a lot more than you would think. And it could affect the laws. There's a lot of laws possibly undermining any of those things in the future. But again, this is where we go a little dark. I go there.
Oh, this is where I go. That's totally true, though.
But there's a whole lot of stuff that we have to think on. But yeah, in this episode, it meant turning into really bad choices of men in order to be able to be a full woman, I guess, is the idea.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before, Joey, but a lot of times at the end of these, it's kind of what would seem like a frivolous thing in a lot of ways, but it was very important when it came out. And like, obviously, we've come a long way, but we'll talk about the damn meaning of life at the end of these sometimes. Like, we're still having these conversations just kind of differently, more evolved, you might say.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
no, I mean, and I'm totally being critical of this, but also I totally respect how this show, I feel like, had such a big impact. And like, it was one of the first shows that like really talked about sex and sexuality for like women, right?
Women,
like,
yeah. And the fact that they had choices.
Yeah.
That would begin a whole new conversation of like living. Of course, it's very privileged people who are having these choices, and that's a different conversation in itself. But yeah, it's like having a moment of freedom in knowing that just because you do like sex doesn't make you a bad person, and just because it doesn't mean marriage is not a bad thing. This is quite a beginning, especially in the 90s, after all the sitcoms were definitely like the wholesome family sitcoms, and then you had this on HBO. So, it definitely did a lot of markers. Is it still problematic? Yes. And we have to talk about that. But it did open some doors for sure in this topic and conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, you should come back, Joey. It's fun.
Yeah,
like, I haven't seen it, and it's just fun to be like, look at this 90s. Like, I usually am the one that's like, look at that Godzilla 1998 poster. There's an R2-D2.
I love it, yeah.
It's only going to grow. It's only going to keep growing. And I'm so excited that you were able to come on, Joey. We definitely need you to be back on. We need Christina back on. We haven't had Maya yet. Yeah. We got to have them. Maybe we should do it as a whole big panel. I don't know how much of a mess that would be. God, yeah. All five of us
It'd be
talking.
really fun, but it would be a whole thing.
Christina's like, I'll never edit this ever.
That's just for our own benefit. We never publish it. It's just hanging out, having fun.
It's just chilling. That's kind of my excuse. But yes, thank you for coming on. I hope you enjoyed it. As
for sure. Yeah, no, I did. Yeah, I would totally come on again for this. So, yes. Yeah.
Got a winner.
Yes. Well, I'm going to say I got a gold star for this one. And you too, Joey.
Woo. Yeah.
You're going to assign yourself that.
Thank you. Yes. As always, thanks for joining us, Joey. Where can the good listeners find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram or Twitter at Pat Not Pratt. That is PATTNOTPRATT. Yeah, or follow the Sminty TikTok at Stuff Mom Never Told You on TikTok.
Yes.
I'm also there.
Yes. Joey has been very kind and helped us start that and run it. And we have not forgotten about bringing a listener on. We promised. We're keeping your names. They're in there. This was actually Joey was helping us test our technology. So thanks for that as well. But yes, don't worry. That is coming. In the meantime, if you would like to contact us, you can. Our email is stuffmediamomstuff@iheartmedia.com. You can find us on Twitter at MomStuffPodcast or on TikTok and Instagram at Stuff Mom Never Told You. Also on YouTube. We have a book coming out. Look that up. Thanks as always to our super producer, Christina, our executive producer, Maya, and to Joey for all of your help.
Yes. Thank y'all.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff Mom Never Told You is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, you can check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your favorite shows.